Yes, I have just made Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse Revitalized better than ever with this latest patch 1.6. Now, I've got a big list here. I'm going to go through everything and all the changes that I made into the game, but I want to start by saying that this all came to me from someone who emailed me who is a big fan not only of this game, but of the Castlevania series and especially of Part 3. So he did know a lot about the game as well as I do too, but I love taking the feedback from people. And he said he had some suggestions, as he would say, and I won't mention his name because lots of people don't like it, if I just mention their name. So we'll just call him Mr. X. Okay, so what Mr. X said is that these are just suggestions that he said. Now, of course, the buck always stops with me. It's my final decision to take whatever information that I get, suggestions, upgrades, tweaks, whatever, and ideas from people, and see whether or not I want to implement them or not. Because sometimes people have ideas that may just break the game, or they just don't understand that certain things really just can't be done because it conflicts with other stuff, etc., etc. But what I like about what he said was that most of the stuff could be implemented, and I actually did like the changes. So we're going to start with the very first thing, the very biggest thing as well, is the changes to the character Grant, okay, the pirate. And I'm going to start with, I have taken his double jump out of the game. Now stop, don't start throwing rotten eggs at the screen right away, okay, because I know some people love the double jump. But the problem is that not only what he said, but other people who have reviewed the game said that once you get Grant, he's too powerful, he's too overpowered, and so he outshines the other characters a bit too much, and that you never really want to select them ever again. So I was thinking to myself, okay, well, for starters, we got to take out the double jump. That's pretty much the thing that's making him the most overpowered. I kept everything else the same, but what I did was you can still get his double jump, but it's now secret, and I'm not going to spoil it. You're just going to have to figure that out for yourself, how to get it. But in other words, what I've replaced it with was I worked very long and hard at it, and I put in a ledge climb for him now. So what that means is it's not exactly like the climbing that he did in the original one. You don't have to hold down the button or anything like that and then, mess up the controls and then, you fall to your death. It's not like that. As a matter of fact, it's more new school. It's more of a ledge climb that would be in something like, say, Doom or any other modern type game. So when you jump and you actually hit a ledge in any one of these new school games, he just automatically grabs the ledge and, hops right back up onto it, right? And so I wanted to try and mimic that, and I think I got it down pretty good. Like I said, I worked very long on it. I've never done anything like this before, so it was experimental, but I tested it out in almost every situation I possibly could, getting hit, trying to use weapons, etc., etc. I tried to glitch it out as best I could and tweak it as good as I possibly could before actually coming out with it, but I think it worked really, really well. So now you can still reach areas that your other characters can't jump up to, well, other than Alucard, if you get him, that's another story. You transform into a bat and you can just fly up there, but maybe you don't have any hearts, or maybe you want to save your hearts. You can still use Grant to get up to these ledges and get up to these areas that were normally not accessible by any of the other characters, or that you could only access these areas by double jumping. So you just jump near the platform's edges now with him, and he will automatically do the ledge climb and hop right back up. I think it looks good. I think it feels good, and it's even more closer to the original game. Now, still on with the characters improvements, let's start with, say, Alucard next. What I did to him was I tweaked his fireballs. I've been getting this from a couple of people who are suggesting that they want his fireballs to, like his main attack with his fireballs, to be faster. So I did that. What I did, just slightly, all I did was I increased the frames of animation speed exactly by 1. So he's just a little bit faster with shooting his fireballs, but he's not like throwing them out rapidly. Like, I didn't want to make it go crazy and just be like him having like a machine gun. That would just break the game. But it's a tweak. It's a sad bit faster, but it is noticeable. So he is improved as well. Next, on to Cipher. Cipher, I wanted her, she has one of the shortest ranged weapons with her staff. but you can't see it because it's invisible, but her hit detection on her staff is actually the widest of all of them. It's actually a big square that you can't see. It's invisible. And so what I did was I made it so that her staff can now hit all enemy projectiles and destroy them, which is great because now that gives even more incentive to pick her or to have her in certain situations when you're fighting some enemies that are kind of, you know, a pain in the rump, like say the knights that throw those boomerang axes at you, and maybe some of the statues that shoot fireballs at you. She can hit all of those and destroy those projectiles now. And I know what you're gonna say, but Ed, in the original game, Trevor with his whip could destroy those obstacles already. And yes, I know that, but I wanted to take that out of the game because I thought that it just made Trevor a bit too powerful and made it so Cipher wasn't really the character that you wanted to pick. Now, so I'm trying to balance it out here. Now, remember that Trevor can still hit projectiles and kill them in my version, but you have to have the flame whip, and that's a secret. Next, a little tweak that he said that was frustrating was the areas in the Aqua City, or whatever you want to call it, where the water slowly rises and you have a limited time to get from point A to point B across the screen before the water comes up over your head and drowns you. I slowed that down a little bit because he said that you only had exactly enough time to get from point A to point B without stopping, without getting hit once, and without even fighting any enemies. And I thought, yeah, that was a little bit too difficult. So I brought the time down on that a little bit. So, you know, for people who not just having trouble with that part, but also for people who've never played the game before and they get to that part, maybe you do want to kill some enemies or whatever before the water gets over your head. I also lowered the time a little bit on the water mage boss as well to make him a little bit more fair. But even though that got nerfed, I made some of the bosses even stronger and more challenging, which he also suggested. The Minotaur boss is now faster, and some of his attacks have been improved to make him a little bit more challenging. I also made his life bar a little bit longer, and then of course Dracula's final form I made much more difficult than it was before. So you're just gonna have to get it to him. You're gonna have to get to him for the second time if you've already played it through, and you're gonna see, you know, the actual changes that I made to him. But he is more challenging, but still doable. Next, a little quick one. If you push T on your keyboard, that will now reset the game. It's just a reset game going to the title screen. It also tells you that you can do that when you pause the game, because what people were saying is that there's a way to quit the game with all of my games. You just push the Q on the keyboard. That's universal amongst all of them. But they wanted a way to actually quickly reset the game and go back to the title screen. So I put that in the game. And another interesting little tidbit that I did put in was that now the characters can switch, and I do get this from a couple of people, not a lot, but the characters can now switch over from left to right when you're switching characters. What that means is if you are on Trevor and you want to go all the way to Alucard, you can actually push the L button and it will cycle all the way through to Alucard. And then if you want to go from Alucard all the way back to Trevor, it will cycle all the way through from right to left, depending on which character you're at on the end characters, and then of course which L and R button. So it's just a cycle through the characters tweak that I put in. No upgrades were made to Trevor because he's supposed to be universal across the board, and he's already powerful enough as it is. For example, he does have the longest range with his whip / Morningstar. Also, maybe something you didn't know about it is the characters, some of the characters, when they hit an enemy, it will stun them for a split second, just like it did in the original game. But not all characters can do that. See, so Trevor's one of the characters that can. See, Alucard can't, Grant can't, I believe Cipher can, right? But see, Trevor has the longest range. He also has his plethora of weapons that can all be upgraded in the game secretly as well. So his boomerang, his holy water, and all that can be upgraded. So I didn't see any need to put any type of tweaks on him. He's already pretty much good across the board. And then the final thing that I added to the game, well, I probably am forgetting some. Like, I did add some more secret rooms to the game as well, so you can explore and try to find them. But the last thing that I added was the foreground imagery on some of the stages, like the pillars and some of the waterfalls coming down where your character is behind them. Mr. X was saying that it was really difficult for him to actually play the stages because you can't see behind them. And I thought, well, in Bloodstained and other games for NES, you couldn't see through them either. But I was like, well, okay, I'll try it out. I'll put 80%. You know what I mean? So I put the transparency on these things about 20%, right? So they're 80% there. And I was like, yeah, okay, I kind of like it better. I think it does look a little bit better. You can at least see relatively something going on behind these foreground objects. So again, I do like that suggestion. I liked most of the suggestions, and I wrote them all down here, and I pretty much implemented all of them, more or less. You can also switch. There was a glitch where you couldn't switch your characters when you were on moving platforms. I fixed that. You can do that now, so you can try that out. So if you're ever switching on, say, the elevator, or if you're on platforms going up and down constantly, if you ever switched your characters, your character would stay stationary while he was switching, but the platform would keep moving. So you would go right through it, and then you would be right to your death after that. You would fall to your death. So I fixed that so you actually do stay on the platforms when you switch characters now. And that's it. So you know where to get the games. It is retrovideogames.store. That is my website. If you want the updates, you can email me. You can email me at edretrogamer3gmail.com or r3games1985@gmail.com. That's my business email, and the other one's my personal email. Either one, it doesn't matter, and I will get you the update 1.6 ASAP through WeTransfer. So that's it. Give me the thumbs up. I know you guys like the game. I know you guys love the game. Get the game. If you haven't got the game yet, what are you doing? This is one of the greatest masterpieces I've ever created, and one of the greatest Castlevania games, I think, traditionally anyway, that are out there. So you got to pick it up. And if you want to see me talk about another retro video game that I created, click over here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe bubble over there. It really does help me out a lot. Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you next time.